everyone. My name is Karen Chadwick. I am the Donor Relations Manager at the San Mateo County Community Colleges Foundation. I welcome you all today. We will be going over our institutional scholarship that all three colleges, Skyline College, College of San Mateo, and Kenyatta College, all participate in. The application, just for basic knowledge, comes out every November 1st. And the deadline date is March 2nd of every year. One second here, I'm navigating multiple screens, sorry. All right, so we do have our institutional scholarship, which consists of one application. Everything is done online. We've tried to make it as easy as possible. We want to make sure that all students are able to fill out the application. And so by having it online, we try to, again, make it as easy as possible. One portal that everybody signs into, and that includes all the various pieces of the application that students are required to fill out. It's all on one application, one website. So hopefully that makes it easy for you guys. Off of this one application, there are hundreds of scholarships that students can apply for. And what we try to do is everything is dumped into one database, and our database is called Academic Works. Academic Works is a third-party website that we use. It houses all three colleges' scholarship opportunities, so you don't have to go to various websites to apply. Students who are brand new to our district, so that means high school seniors, current students that are currently attending and are going to be continuing, and then students who are also currently attending and plan to transfer are eligible to apply for these scholarships. There is no set GPA requirement. There is no set requirement for financial needs. Some scholarships will require financial need, but there are a ton of other scholarship opportunities in Academic Works where you do not have to have any financial need. And then citizenship status, also, there is no requirement. Students who are US citizens, eligible non-citizens, permanent residents, international students, and our AB 540 undocumented students are all eligible to apply off of this one application. The online application, again, is called Academic Works. This is the website that you will frequently use while you are working on your application. Later on in the presentation, I will do a demo of what it looks like and kind of go over some of the pieces so that you know what to look for when you are filling out the application. When you first log in, you will see a series of just general questions that we will ask. And then you will also be required to write a personal statement, which is just 3 short essays. I will also go over that in this presentation. And then you will be required to ask for 1 reference for the application. And then last but not least, we ask that you upload your unofficial transcripts as a PDF document into your application. The deadline for everything to be submitted, and that includes your letter of reference, is March 2nd, 2023 by 11:59 p.m. If you have any questions after today's presentation, I have included the scholarship coordinator's email for CSM, Skyline College, and then the financial aid director handles scholarships at Kenyatta College. And then there is myself. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email, and we are more than happy to assist you. In the email, I do ask that you just shoot me a reminder, or whoever you're emailing, that you met us at this presentation, and that you just had some additional questions, and we can help you that way. And then last but not least, I wanted to promote our financial aid night, which is tomorrow night. So if you are in the area of Skyline College, please stop by. We are having an in-person workshop. The workshop will be tomorrow evening from 5:30 to 7:30. You can either go to the website that I've listed there, or if you have your phone, go ahead and scan the QR code and register for the event. We would love to have you. It's going to be in Building 6, room 204 that is on the second floor. We will be helping students and their families fill out FAFSA applications, DREAM Act applications, and then I will also be there helping students apply for scholarship opportunities. So we'll have laptops available, or you can bring your own, and then we can go ahead and get you started on the app. Or if you get started on it at home, you can come to the workshop tomorrow and then get your questions answered. So we are there to help you and be as successful as possible in submitting financial aid and scholarship applications. And that does it for at least the PowerPoint presentation piece. What I'm going to do now is log into the application so that you can see what, excuse me one second, I'm just adjusting the screens here. I want you all to see what the actual application looks like. So give me one moment.
And as Karen's setting that up, another key reminder that we like to remind everyone is as you're filling out the application, we advise you to use the browser Chrome or Mozilla Firefox due to capability issues. I know we have some Mac users who are comfortable using Safari, but it's not really that compatible with academic work. So and that includes Internet Explorer or Edge, whatever it's called nowadays. Same thing, because capability issues. So just a reminder, Chrome or Mozilla Firefox.
Thank you, Patty. And let me just set up. My browser went down that I had all my websites set up on, but that's all right. We will figure it out. Okay. Let me share my screen here. And again, if you have any questions, please throw them in the chat so we can assist you. I'm just going to shrink some of my things so I could see. If it's too small as I'm presenting, please let me know and I can readjust some of the screens. I'm working on 2 monitors, so I want to make sure that you all can see what I'm doing. Okay, let's go. All right, can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you, Patty. And is it too small or does it look okay?
It looks like it's kind of
Too small?
little. No, I think yeah, that's a perfect size.
All right, let me readjust it this way. That way, maybe then it won't be so bad. Can you still see it? I just moved it.
Yes,
All right,
perfect.
excellent. Perfect. Okay, so the application that you're again going to fill out is going to be academic works. So in the chat, Patty, if you don't mind, can you give them 2 links? The sign up link, which is this one here, and then the sign in link, which students will use after they've signed up. So I'm going to start with signing up because I'm assuming most of you are brand new to using this website. So everyone that is brand new and has never been to the Academic Works website and signed in, you are going to use the sign up feature. Sign up will mean that you are going to create your login. Your email address will be the my.smccd college issued email that you were provided. If you are brand new and have not been issued a my.smccd email, then my students that have filled out an application through CCC Apply, whatever email that you use when you applied on CCC Apply, you will use that email until you are provided a college issued email address. And then once you get provided a college issued email address, you'll have to contact your home college so we can update your email address in Academic Works. But for now, you will go ahead and use whatever college, whatever ID you use when you applied through the college through CCC Apply. For my students that are already attending our district and have a my.smccd email, please go ahead and use that email to log in. And then you are going to create your password. The password needs to be at least 12 characters long, must include uppercase, lowercase, a digit, and a special character like a $sign. You'll want to make sure that you remember that password. We do not have access to your password, so please write it down, especially because usually students use this application, this website like once a year. So it's not something that you're going to obviously remember. If you're, if you're using your email, you know that password, right? So just make sure you write it down and keep it somewhere safe. Then you're going to confirm your password, and then you will click the sign up button. Once you click the sign up button, you are then going to be presented with an email that gets sent to the email address that you provided in this email address box. And that email will basically be asking you to confirm your identity. Once you get that email, you will click the link in the email that asks you to confirm your identity, and then you will be taken into the actual application, right? And it'll go directly into the app. Once you've initially set up your sign up and you've got your email and you've got your password, then you no longer need to use the sign up tab. You'll be using the sign in link that Patty provided from that point on. So I'm going to log into my application, and then you guys can see what the actual app looks like. Taking a second. You won't see this because this is a role that I have so that you won't notice that. But when you confirm your identity, it's going to take you into your app that will look just like this. So what you are seeing now is the actual general application and the questions that you will need to answer. So for the sake of time, and I want to make sure that if students have questions at the end that we get to those. So questions like your first name, your last name, I'm just going to kind of move through. For the most part, most of the questions are pretty specific, right? You have to answer all the questions that we ask on the application. You can't leave anything blank. So make sure that as you're answering them, that you're answering everything as best as you can. Phone number. Make sure that you follow the format that is down here below in the hint section. So you got to put those dashes in. Otherwise, you will get an error message. And again, everything has to be answered. The way we designed the application was we were basically designing the app based on all the scholarship opportunities we have that are in the system. So there is some rhyme and reason to why we're asking questions, and it's to match you to any scholarship opportunities that we have existing in the system. So as you're answering questions behind the scenes, the system is auto matching you to any scholarships that you meet the criteria for. So it's actually doing the hard work, it's doing the legwork for you. All you're doing is going through and answering the questions. If you see a question on here that you may not understand or you don't quite know what we're asking, for example, we get lots of students that say, well, what is a first generation college student? Down here below, we have usually some tips for students, some hints regarding the question. So always feel free to make sure that you read that over, and it'll give you a little bit of guidance on how to answer the questions. So for example, a first generation student is one whose parents have not completed the equivalent to a four-year college degree, right? So if you meet the criteria for that, then you would answer yes. So we try to, on as many questions as possible, give you tips, give you hints about what we're actually asking about. So I'll move further down the application. Another question that we get a lot of questions about is this question here. Are you undocumented or underdocumented AB 540 Dreamer or DACA student? So basically, this question is asking if you are a student who is undocumented and qualifies for AB 540. So here are, in the tips section, is basically the basic eligibility requirements to be considered AB 540. So if you meet the requirements to be considered AB 540, then you would answer yes. If you are a US citizen, an eligible non-citizen, a student here that is international on an F1 visa, you're going to answer no. to that question, right? This is just specific to students who are AB 540 and our undocumented, underdocumented student population. Next question, at any time on or after July 1st of 2022, were you homeless or at risk of being homeless? So it's just a drop-down box that you're going to answer yes or no. Also, if you are answering yes to this, in your personal statement that I'm going to go over a little later, you're going to want to make sure that you mention that information in that personal statement because there is a scholarship where we actually have a couple of scholarships where we're looking for students who are either at risk of being homeless or homeless, okay? So just make sure that if you're answering yes to some of these questions, you also may want to mention that in your personal statement. Your home campus, you'll choose the best campus that matches what college will be your primary campus during fall 23, spring 24. And the reason is because we know we have students that attend all three campuses sometimes, or two of the three. But unfortunately, under the home campus box, you can only choose one college. So if you're attending multiple campuses, you'll want to choose the campus that you're taking the majority of your units at, right? And if you don't know, at this point, you're going to want to make your best guess. So if you think you'll be taking majority of your units at Skyline, go ahead and list Skyline, because that is how we present the scholarship opportunities to the students and are matching them behind the scenes. It's based off of who you select for your home campus. So that's whoever you're taking the majority of units, that's going to be your home campus. And I'm going to go down a little further. Again, you'll answer these questions as best as possible. Here you'll see a long list of majors, right? So we are asking students to please select their major as best as possible. You'll want to make sure that the list is alphabetical, so you'll go through from the top to the bottom and select the major that closely matches what you want to study in college. If you have more than one major, that is fine as well. Go ahead and make sure that if you do select, let's say you select two majors, in the first part of your essay where we're talking about academics, you're going to want to explain why you have multiple majors, right? Why do you have two majors? And lots of students do. So we just want to make sure that it's clear to our scholarship readers who will be reviewing your applications why you have more than one major. And they could be related or they could be totally opposite majors. If you don't see your major on here, there is one that says none of the above, but in your personal statement, you're going to want to make sure that you're clear about what your major is, right? So if you don't see it on this list, make sure you include whatever that major is on your personal statement. This next question has to deal with career goals. So it's a very short list. And again, it's a short list because the scholarship opportunities that we have tied to specific career goals are just for these careers, right? So if you have a career goal outside of these majors, that is completely fine. We just may not have a particular scholarship that is designed to be attached to a specific career goal, right? There's lots of scholarships out there, and some donors don't mind whatever major it is that you want to study or go into is totally fine. And whatever career goal that you choose for later on in life, it didn't matter to the donor. So we didn't design the scholarship application specifically to that career goal, right? Only the donors that specified when they contacted us are the career goals that we selected, right? So for example, if you are a nursing major, then you're going to want to check healthcare, right? But again, if you don't see your career goal on here, it's completely fine. You'll choose none of the above. And in your personal statement, you can then go into more detail about what that career goal is. These next couple questions are all related to, if you answer yes, you'll want to make sure that you mention something in your personal statement about why you're answering yes, right? So this first one talks about community service and volunteering. So if you have demonstrated community service to the community by volunteering and you answer yes, in your personal statement, you'll go into more detail about what your experience was. Same thing with social justice issues and concerns. If you answer yes, In your personal statement, we're going to ask you to expand on that and tell us what that is. We do have students that don't quite know what is social justice issues and concerns, and what do you mean by demonstrating commitment? So it could be anything from participating maybe in a rally, or being part of a club that deals with social justice issues and concerns, right? If you have strong beliefs in a specific organization, maybe you're part of that organization, and they may not do rallies, but they may participate in email campaigns where they're trying to gain support for whatever social justice issue and concern that you're involved in, then you could answer yes. Again, it's the commitment, it's the involvement piece, right? So if you are involved, then you're going to want to make sure that you answer yes. And then in your personal statement, you can go into more detail about what that involvement is. What is your experience through participating with social justice issues and concerns? Have you participated in any clubs, extracurricular activities on campus? So this has to do with on-campus involvement. So that would be a yes or no. For my students that are high school seniors, if you have participated in any clubs or extracurricular activities at your high school, then you could answer yes. And then in your personal statement, we'll want you to go into more detail about what those clubs, what those activities are. And you can even go into further discussion about, maybe there was a particular event that you were involved in and, it meant something to you. So we want you to write about that as well, okay? Below is a list of select activities, clubs, learning communities, and support services that are linked to specific scholarship criteria. So again, this is another long list. It's alphabetical. So if you see any activities, clubs, learning communities, or support programs that are part of the college, you're going to want to go ahead and select it. You can select multiple. And then once you've selected them, remember in your personal statement, you'll want to at least touch base on, what these different activities and clubs and learning communities meant to you. If you don't see your club or activity, again, at the very bottom, there is a none of the above. And then in your personal statement, you can go ahead and talk about what the specific activity or club that you participated in was in your personal statement, okay? Have you received any school awards or honors? This could be anything like Dean's List. It could be recognition awards or other scholarships that you may have won, right? So if you answer yes in your personal statement, we're going to ask for you to talk about that as well. All right, I'm going to move further down along the row here. All right, this next question does get a lot of questions. Do you have unmet financial need for the next academic year? So we do get students that ask us, what is unmet financial need? So we have this little blurb here. If you are receiving financial aid or have any unmet needs in paying for your education, whether that is paying for classes, buying your supplies, housing, transportation, then you probably have some type of unmet need. I tell students, if you need money to go to school, right? If you need this scholarship to pay for books or any supplies, maybe you need a computer and you need funds to do that, then I would answer yes, you have unmet financial need. I would say probably a good 95% of the students that fill out this application have some type of financial need. Reference. Okay, so we've gotten to the point of the application where we're going to start asking for things to be uploaded or for you to put in some additional information so that we can reach out to folks to submit additional stuff for us, right? So reference. This is the part of the application where we're going to ask you to provide us with the name and email address of one person that can write a recommendation for you. This person does not have to type up a letter, right? What this person is going to be asked to do is once you put their name and email address and you hit the save button at the bottom, they will be emailed a direct link that asks them to provide a recommendation for you. They'll click on the link and then they will be asked to answer about 5 questions and that will serve as your reference. Please note that references also need to be submitted by the March 2nd deadline. So you must make sure that you have that submitted. Otherwise, unfortunately, your application will be considered incomplete. Folks who you could ask for a recommendation. We suggest either a professor, a teacher, a counselor, whether it's a personal counselor or your academic counselor. If you participate in clubs or activities on campus, you could ask your advisor for a letter of recommendation. If you're part of a support program on campus, you can certainly ask an advisor or someone in the program, let's say EOPS. You could ask someone in the EOPS program to write you a letter of recommendation. If you're part of the Promise program, if you're working with anyone in particular, you can ask someone from the Promise program to write you a letter of recommendation. If you are at the high school level, what you could do is still ask if you have an academic counselor or a personal counselor on campus, you can ask them to write you a recommendation. If you have a professor that you have a great relationship with, you can ask your instructor to write you a recommendation. If you belong to any clubs or activities on campus, someone from the club who is an advisor to the club, they can write you a recommendation. If you volunteer outside of campus, whoever you're volunteering for, they could certainly write you a recommendation. And then if you're working, your employer, your supervisor could also write you a recommendation. Whoever is writing you the recommendation, though, should be able to speak about your academics. So why are you attending college? What is your major? What is your goal? So are you coming to school to get a certificate, get an associate's degree, get an associate's transfer, and then later on you plan to transfer to a four-year university? So you'll want to at least make sure that they know the basics of your academics. They should also be aware of any career goals that you may have. So once you're all done with college, what are your plans after college? What is the career goal? And then also any involvement in any extracurricular activities on or off campus. You should also inform this person who is writing you a recommendation. And then last but not least, if there is additional information that this person may know about you, they are free to share it in the recommendation, right? So as much information as they can provide to us, the better. So if you're asking someone to write you a recommendation, you could also have a quick meeting with them so that they are aware of kind of what's going on in your life. Maybe you haven't had them as an instructor, maybe this year, or it's been a couple semesters since you have talked to them. So just make sure that you bring them up to date, let them know what's going on with you. If you have a personal statement that you already wrote, you can share that with them and they can pull that information from your personal statement so that they can write your recommendation. If you don't have a personal statement, even a quick bullet point list that you could email them will certainly provide them with the information they need to write your letter. I do highly suggest making sure you confirm with the individual that they are willing to write your recommendation. Once you have that confirmation from them, you will come to your application and provide their name, first and last name, and their email address. Please make sure that the email address that you're typing in this box here is accurate and correct, because once you write their email and you hit that save button, the system is going to automatically send them that email to the email address you provided. So if the email is incorrect, they'll never get the appropriate link that they need to submit your recommendation. So just make sure that you are providing the correct email address. Once the recommender has submitted your recommendation, you will get sent an email that notifies you that they have submitted their recommendation. So that's your confirmation that that piece of the application was done, okay? Academic transcripts. So for my high school students, you will need to request academic transcripts from your high school. It should be in a PDF document. That is what we accept, and that's the easiest document for our reviewers to be able to pull up and see online. So you'll want to go ahead and contact either your counselor or someone at the high school that can get you access to your unofficial high school transcripts, right? And then once you have them, you will upload them into the system using this link here as a PDF document. For my students that are current students, you'll want to go into WebSmart, and under WebSmart, under the Student Records tab, you will be able to order your unofficial academic transcripts. Those will be emailed to you once you request them, and it will be emailed as a PDF document. Once you get that email, you'll open up that PDF document and save it to your desktop, and then upload it by adding a new file and uploading it to your scholarship application. Once you've uploaded it, you're going to hit the save button, and then you'll see that appear in this line here if you've done it correctly. Okay, so you'll want to make sure that you upload it and hit that save button once you've uploaded it so that you can see it appear in this line. And it's also a good point to just suggest, as you're working on your application, you'll want to periodically hit that save button so that you don't lose any data. Things happen. For example, folks' power is going out today because of the heavy winds. So we want to make sure that you're not losing any data as you're filling out your application. So go ahead, periodically hit that save button to make sure that any information that you've uploaded or written on your application stays that way and you don't lose that data, okay? And now we've gotten to the personal statement piece of the application. So for the personal statement piece, you do have to write 3 short essays, right? So it's called personal statement, and we've broken it up into these 3 short essays. So we've got your academic statement, your extracurricular statement, and further down, we've got the supplemental information statement. I'm going to go one by one just so that you can see what I've got here. I've written down some tips, some hints, so feel free to take a picture, screenshot it. These are just some things that I tell students over the years, to do, make sure that they're covering in their personal statement. So each essay is no longer than 250 words in length, right? What I do suggest to students is you can either type it here in these boxes, but what I prefer students do is open up a Google Docs and just start typing in your Google document. And there's a couple of reasons. One, it's easier to edit in Google Docs. And once you've got a solid essay, then you'll come back and paste into your application the different pieces of your essay. The other benefit to having it in Google Docs is that if you need to write an essay further down the road, you're applying for other scholarships, or you're even applying for colleges down the road, you can reference these essays, during your college career, right? You're not having to rewrite an essay from scratch every single time. So it's a working document that you will continue to use over, your college years, right? This will not be the last time that you're applying for scholarships or that you have to write an essay about yourself. So if you don't have anything yet, it's a good time to start. And if you've got it in your Google Docs, it's something that you can refer back to over and over again. And on the flip side, if you already have an essay that you've written about yourself, don't start from scratch, right? Go back to that essay you may have written for, a particular class, or maybe you've applied for scholarships other than this one, right? And you had to write an essay. So use that essay, use what you already have, and then you just update it for this particular scholarship opportunity, right? You don't need to reinvent the wheel every single time. We want to make sure that you use all the tools that you've already have and make it as easy as possible for you. I would say this part of the application is the part that students struggle with the most. So we want to make it as easy as possible. And every year, again, you can build upon it, revise it, and it's something that you will always have. So for the academic statement, you'll want to include things like your major, your educational goal, right? Are you coming to either Skyline, CSM, or Kenyatta to achieve your certificate, to achieve an associate's degree? maybe you're coming to school to get your associate's transfer, or maybe you're just taking general ed because you plan to transfer and you just want to do general ed at this point in time. So you'll talk about that. And then not only are you going to talk about what your major is, but we want to know the why behind it, right? For the most part, as you can see on the application, you're just answering questions, yes, no, and you're selecting. So everybody's application at this point, up until about here, pretty much looks the same. Your personal statement is the piece of the application that makes your app stand out from all the other students, right? So this is the part that you will want to take the most time. You don't want to rush. You've got a couple weeks before the app is due. So work on it a little bit at a time. I wouldn't suggest sitting down and getting your essay done in one shot, right? That's a lot to take on in one sitting. So if you work on it a little bit at a time until you perfect it and you've got a really solid essay under your belt, then that's what you submit. And you can just start off by brainstorming, right? And then I tell my students, just start typing. You'd be surprised how quickly you can get to that 250 word count. The other thing I do tell my students is do not write to get to the 250 word count, right? We don't want you to do that. That's not the idea behind these essays. These essays are so that we can get to know you better, so that our scholarship readers can get to know you better. So if you can write a good solid essay in 200 words, I would rather have you submit a great essay in 200 words than submit an okay essay filled with a bunch of filler words and fluff because you're trying to get to that 250 word mark, right? That's not the goal. It's about the quality of your essay versus the quantity and how many words that you can write. So just as long as you are taking your time in writing the essay and you're being thoughtful and you're providing the best response that you can, that is what we're looking for, right? And again, this is the opportunity for our readers to get to know you best. So the why behind your answers is really the most important piece, right? Why did you select that major? Did something in your life happen to cause you to choose that specific major, right? I use my student that I've had in the past as an example. So she chose nursing. And the reason she chose nursing for her major and career goal is because she was there when her grandmother fell very ill and got cancer. And so she saw how the nurses took care of her during that period of time when she was sick. And so it was that point in time that she realized, I want to be a nurse, right? So being a nurse is fantastic, but that why behind why she wants to be a nurse, why she is coming to school to learn how to be a nurse, that's the important piece. That's the piece that my scholarship committee is looking for, right? So really take the time and invest in that part of your essay. It's the why behind it. Same thing with your career goal, right? So not only are we interested in your career, your major, not only are we interested in your major here, but we're also interested in your career goal. So once you're all done with school, what's that career option for you? What is it that you ultimately want to do and see yourself doing down the road? And then we want to know the why behind that, right? And it could be very related to your major. So, just make sure that you take the time and explain that. And then if you're planning to transfer to a 4-year, if you already know where you want to go, it's always a good idea to include that in your personal statement as well. If you are a first generation student, you could include that here in the academic piece, or if you've hit that 250 word mark, there is another opportunity to discuss this part further down in the essay. Okay. Extracurricular statement. So this part of your essay is where you will want to talk about any volunteer, community service, clubs, activities that you've participated in on campus, and anything that you've done off campus, right? So we want to know more about your involvement, right? So you're really painting the picture for us academically, extracurricular wise, so that we can get to know you better. So you can talk about things that you've done, right? If you're part of various clubs and activities on campus, we don't want just a running list of all the clubs that you're involved in, right? What is more meaningful is mentioning the clubs and activities that you participate in, but also along with that, we want to know more specifics. So maybe there was, and I mentioned this earlier, maybe there was an event that you participated in that was meaningful to you. And maybe you had a different role in that event. And so we want to learn about that. What was your takeaway from that, right? If you volunteer, what is your takeaway from that volunteer experience, right? What did you find most meaningful about volunteering, about participating in that community event? This is also where